ॐ नारायणः परो व्यक्तात् अण्डमव्ययसम्भवम् अण्डस्यान्तस्त्विमे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. We have been looking at the 17th verse of the third chapter. Yastu atmaratireva syat atmathriptascha manavah atmani eva cha santushtah tasya karyam na vidyate. For the person who does not depend on any kind of outside stimulant, in order to be entertained, in order to feel secure, in order to just live, for such a person who has been endowed with self-knowledge, then the what is that? The concept of duty is no longer applicable, because duties in the Hindu tradition are for bringing out the person's preparation for moksha. So for the person who already understands I am Mukta Purusha, there is no such thing called duty, because the duty has finished itself. Since the duty has finished itself, there is no reason to do anything. So it's like when you're hungry, you eat. And then after the hunger has been assuaged, there is no reason to crave food anymore, because the tummy is full. So here too, the concept of duty is relevant only for the person who needs that discipline and preparation for the sake of gaining this knowledge. This much was pointed out in verse number 17. Verse number 18 also we have seen, naiva tasya kritenarthah na akritena iha kaschana न च अस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थव्यपाश्रयः. For this person, there are not things to be done in order to get something. There is not anything to not be done in order to get rid of something. So, and then there is not a single being upon which there is any kind of an emotional dependency. Physical dependency is also not there, because technically the person, the sadhu, eats for the sake of eating, for the sake of living. And if the living is no longer permitted by Bhagavan, the sadhu will just give up the life. And so the eating is done for the sake of living, not the other way around. And also, in a way, the eating, the drinking, etc. is just done as a matter of upkeeping the body, and is more required for other people's sake. In fact, the people who feed the sadhus are very much interested that they eat, that they, that they live, etc., because their presence is considered very, very precious, especially the sadhu of the caliber that is being talked about in verse number 18. Because such sadhus bless the world without needing anything in return, and without really wanting any kind of a reward or a what is that called, fee. So they do it freely, like even the spring springs forth all kinds of flowers, blossoms, without seeking anything in return. It puts on a wonderful show. And so like this, these sadhus live. And so therefore, Then at the end of verse number 18, it was also pointed out, Natvam etasmin sarvatah samplutodakasthaniye samyak darshane vartase. However, very important, you, Arjuna, do not belong to this category. You do not belong to this category at all. You do not belong to this category. Why? Because uh, you are already in distress. Sadhu is not in distress. A person of self-knowledge is not in distress. What are you? You are in distress. You are having dharma sankata. Dharma sankata means conflict. You have conflict, you have depression, you have distress, as has been evidenced in the first chapter. The first chapter is a condition, is a treatise of the condition of Arjuna's mind and emotions, which are far from having equanimity. And so these two verses 17 and 18 do not apply to you. And so therefore, you cannot do as you wish. And what is it that you wish to do? You wish to just sit and not fight this war. You wish to not fight this war. You wish to just be sitting in one place, and then you wish to give up this duty. Give up this duty and not fight this war. This option is not for the likes of you. And only those people who are able to, who have self knowledge, are entitled to give up duty, not otherwise. Because the duty itself brings you closer to self knowledge indirectly by preparing the mind, by growing up the emotions to be to be in sync with whatever is being studied. So you don't have that fullness. Samplutodaka is a reference to one of the verses from chapter 2, where it was said that, what is the use of the well for a person, let's say the ancestral well, where sweet water comes. What is the use of that well when for that person the whole village is under water? So the water is available everywhere. So the water here signifies fullness. So the fullness of the person, like the flowing water everywhere, is available. So the person doesn't have to depend on one particular source of some sense of completion, fullness, etc. And so you don't belong to this category. Yataha evam. Yataha evam means such being the case. This becomes the introduction to the next verse. Verse number 19 now. Tasmadasaktas satatam karyam karma samachara. Tasmadasaktas satatam karyam karma samachara. Asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Tasmat means therefore. Wherefore, therefore means such being the case, that you are not entitled to give up duty yet. You still have to finish whatever you have come here to do. And right now you are being asked to fight this war. That becomes your duty. You have to do this. There is no divorcing prematurely from Swadharma. There is only growing out of it. What do you want to do? What you want to do is divorce yourself from Swadharma, but actually what you have to do is grow out of it gracefully and gradually. But that not, since you cannot give up Swadharma, you have to do what is to be done. So tasmat, therefore, karyam karma samachara. Please do your duties faithfully, complete them, do it nicely, do it with full happiness, with full plunging into it completely. Not that you do it mindlessly in a robotic fashion, etc. Do it fully, do it completely. Tasmat. Therefore, Satatam, always. Always means until the duties drop off in the wake of self-knowledge, you have to do the duties. But then how to do them? Because the duties are what are causing the conflict. The cause of conflict is the duty. Because I don't want to do what I have to do. That is the conflict, pure and simple. And also doing something attracts karma phala, and I don't want the karma phala, and I don't want to be in this chakra, in this wheel of karma, karma phala, karma phala, etc. So what to do here now? So here it says, Tasmat, therefore, Satatam Karya Samachara. Do the duties faithfully, without conflict. How? Asaktaha. Asaktaha means uninvolved. Not in the form of a robot, and we'll see that. The robot also is uninvolved, and then here the person is also being told to be uninvolved. Uninvolved is not like a robotic fashion. We'll see what that means in the Bhashya. And then further, the second line says, Asaktaha hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Purushaha means Purushaha eva Purushaha. So the dairghyam, the length here does not matter. So it is Purushaha, person. What does the person do? Param apnoti. Param apnoti means gains the ultimate. And what is the ultimate? The truth of one's nature. The person gains moksha, the truth of one's nature, that the understanding that one is already free from karma. How? Asaktaha hi acharan. Because the person is doing the karma without attachment to the result of action, without attachment to outcome. So uninvolved here means without expecting a particular outcome. In fact, you can even expect a particular outcome. But what is not healthy is to be stuck on that outcome. The sangha to the outcome is not there. I train my mind not to have sangha. Sangha means a certain kind of a cloying sense of this alone has to happen. I'm giving these exams in order to get a job. But then I'm giving these exams in order to get a job, and in order to have this job alone, since I'm studying so hard to give these exams, in order to get this job, I have to get this job. That have to is sangha. That is the bondage. The bondage between my raga dvesha, the raga for the job, the dvesha to be unemployed, or the dvesha to, because I cannot stand myself without having this job, that is the dvesha. So this raga dvesha is completely, what is that? Is completely taken out of the equation. I do this because now I have come to the stage in this job that in order for further progress, I have to take this exam. And then so I give this exam because yes, I would like this promotion. I would like a merit increase. I would like to, to get a better job than what I have. That is fine. The raga is there. And then I give the exam, but then there is also a certain freedom. There is a certain freedom because I am a karma yogi in this example. So if one is a karma yogi, one will give this exam with full expectation. Yes, I should pass this exam. But if the passing does not happen, there is a sense of coming out of this expectation and saying, let Ishvara's will prevail. And here one has to be careful. I can't sit at home, not even buy the books, not even look at the syllabus of the what has to be studied for this exam, and then I just sit and eat bonbons. Bonbons means candy. I eat candy day and night, and then I go out with my friends. I do not study. And then after that, I give the exam and get a big zero in the exam. And then can I say it is Ishvara's will? No. because I haven't tried. It is Ishvara's will to have given me the ability to try. That is also Ishvara's will. So I cannot pit one aspect of Ishvara to another aspect of Ishvara. That is just not possible. I cannot do that. And so, therefore, here, what does that mean? Ishvara's will here, we take it in, where people stretch this like elastic and apply it very conveniently to difficult and different situations. Like the person does not work and then expect some outcome which obviously she or he does not get. And then when they do not get that outcome, what does the person say? Oh, Ishvara didn't want it. You haven't put your effort. Your effort is everything. And if you haven't put the effort, you have to be with, you have to take the consequences. And so here, Ishvara's will supersedes your effort. That is only when Ishvara's will supersedes your effort, and when after having tried your best, you don't get the outcome that you need or you want. Then only it is Ishvara's will. So we cannot sort of drag Ishvara into our own ragadveshas. So the people who keep saying it is Ishvara's will without really engaging in mindful action, that is what is called samacharaha, meaning putting your full effort, putting the full effort towards an end. But then when you don't get the end, then we can only say Ishvara's will. But people who just put the phrase Ishvara's will, who bandy this about in vain without an understanding of their own efforts, those are the people who are not included in this verse. Those are the people who at the beginning of the chapter Lord Krishna called Mithyacharaha. Mithyacharaha means who pretend to do things but they don't really do things. So it is not doing things out of apathy, doing things out of discontentment, doing things out of a sense of depression, doing things automatically because they have to I have to get it over with, or doing things because I just don't feel like it, and then I call it Ishvara's will. No. So here the effort is in my hands. Karmani eva adhikarahate. This was explained very nicely before. The effort is in my hands. And when the effort is in my hands, what happens? The effort is very much, I have to do that. If it is in my hands, I have to accomplish this effort. Then only I will get this get the rewards. So then, therefore, perform the action that has been enjoined rightly in the proper manner without attaching to the outcome, because the disregard for the outcome leads to moksha. How? Indirectly, not directly. Indirectly leads to moksha by preparing the mind to receive whatever outcome that appears. Prasada buddhi, it increases. Prasada, the word prasada means actually contentment. So contentment is there. And when the contentment is there, that means the person is a relatively cheerful person. From being a relatively cheerful person to understanding that I am cheerfulness embodied is not a very difficult step. That the knowledge brings. The knowledge brings this understanding, but I help myself in the everyday by remaining in good cheer. So tasmad asaktaha sangavarjitaha. Sangavarjitaha means not having some kind of a clawing connection, dysfunctional connection to the result of action. Satatam sarvada, always. Karyam nityam kartavyam. Whatever has to be done every day, samachara, nirvartaya, accomplish what needs to be done every day. Why? Because you don't yet have self-knowledge. You cannot give up duties. Since you don't have self-knowledge, you cannot give up duties. So better to do whatever needs to be done. Whatever needs to be done, you please do whatever has to be done. Asaktaha yasmat. Yasmat, because without a view of outcome, without focusing on the outcome, samacharan, doing the duty. How to do that? This one, Adi Shankara points that out very well. Ishwarartham karma kurvan. Doing this for the sake of Ishvara. For the sake of Ishvara means what? I have dedicated the results of action. They come from Ishvara. So the actor also is who? Ishvara alone is the actor. Ishvara is the recipient of the action because Ishvara is the giver of the fruits of action. So this way, I drag in Ishvara as the proxy actor, and then Param is Moksham. Moksham apnoti sattva shuddhi dvarena. Dvarena, through the doorway marked sattva shuddhi. Sattva shuddhi means inner purity. Antahkarana shuddhi. So the through the doorway marked Antahkarana shuddhi, proper attitude, proper preparation, purity of mind, where there is no vengeance, where there is no victimization, where there is no pain, where there is no feeling like I have been targeted, I have been given too much to do, all these things, because it is Ishwararpana Buddhi. There is Prasada Buddhi in receiving the results of action. All this we have studied, so I can go a little faster here. So with this Prasada Buddhi, the person has Shuddha Antahkarana. Shuddha Antahkarana means freedom from the hold of Raga Dveshas. When there is freedom from the hold of strong preferences and prejudices, what happens? Then the person is able to be very, very free. The person is able to be very, very free. Sattva Shuddhi Dvarena, the person is able to understand Vedanta Shastra freely without the films, without the cataracts of Raga and Dvesha. So without the filters of Raga and Dvesha. And then one more reason to do karma is given here. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि कर्मणा एव through action alone. Because why? Through action alone, samsiddhim asthita. Samsiddhim asthita means they samsiddhi is moksha. They gained moksha. They gained moksha, or asthita can be taken as they became more oriented towards moksha. They gained moksha, they became mokshabhimukha. Asthita, who? Janaka. King Janaka, not Sita's father, but a king in the Vedas. Yeah, some king who was even the, what is that? Who was even an example for the sages. The sages used to send their brahmacharis to this King Janaka. So King Janaka, etc., such people became interested in moksha, became completely committed to moksha, gained moksha. How? Through this antahkarana shuddhi, by doing what needed to be done. And then, since they were kings, they were occupying high positions. So what needed to be done was many, many things. And then so what did they do? They did it through Ishwararpana Buddhi. But Ishwararpana Buddhi means dedicating the action to Ishvara is still some kind of a far cry. Because where is this Ishvara? Who is this Ishvara? There is not some kind of a connection to this Ishvara, especially in the beginning stages. That connection to Ishvara not being there. there is confusion. There is confusion. There is some kind of a confusion, and there is some kind of a what is that called? Uh, Remoteness, alienation. So therefore, if this Ishvara has to be made real in as far as my action is concerned, if I have to see this Ishvara, if I have to be one with this Ishvara while I do the work, where should I place this surrender? Where should I surrender my action? Because Ishvara, I don't know. I'm still in the process of knowing. And then, so where is this Ishvara? Ishvara is in the faces of the recipient of the action that you are about to perform. So, Loka Sangraha means for the sake of the betterment of the world. Sangraha, collection. Loka, the whole world. For the betterment of the whole world. Loka Sangraha. This is what it is. Loka Sangraham means even for the sake of service. This I can connect to. The person who cannot connect to Ishvara yet can certainly see that there is need in the world. There are people crying because they don't have food. There is discrimination. There are things like so many isms, racism and colonialism and all these things, sexism. All these things are there. There is inequality. There is fear. Some people live in fear because they don't have. Some people don't have anything to eat. There is poverty. They don't have clothes to wear. They cannot get their children educated. And so there is a lot to do in this world. And being a human being means having empathy. Having empathy means naturally feeling like reaching out to see what is the gap that I can fill. Of course, one cannot do everything. That would be a foolish endeavor, and that will take one straight not to action but inaction, because one feels completely paralyzed. Because that is not what is being talked about here. It is not paralysis, but here it is in some small way. Some small way. Like the small little squirrel, not squirrel, what is that called? Chipmunk. In the Ramayana, there is the story that all the big Vanaras, the Vanarasena, these humanoids like Hanumanji and his crew, they were all carrying huge boulders to make the bridge between India and Sri Lanka. Rameshwaram and Jaffna, this is the towns in India and Sri Lanka respectively. They were connecting that. This bridge is available to view underwater even now. Even now it is there. And then, so this Rama Setu, the bridge for Rama was built because the whole army had to come from India and then attack Sri Lanka, because that Sri Lankan king had been the aggressor and taken away the queen consort of Lord Rama, and he had abducted the queen of Ayodhya. So therefore, they had to gain back the queen, and so therefore Queen Sita, they had to gain back. So this bridge was built, and while this bridge was being built, then all the big boulders were being handled by the strong Vanara Sena, the army of Vanaras. And this little chipmunk said to itself, I too want to help. I too want to be part of Rama's army. But I'm so small. I can't do anything. I can't lift these big boulders. Let me try. All it could lift was a few pebbles. One by one, it took the pebbles in the mouth and then deposited them in between the boulders. Then it felt very shy, very humble, because its contribution was so little. And then when Rama came, Rama saw it just hiding behind a tree. This chipmunk was hiding behind the tree. It wanted, it wanted to have darshan. It wanted to be it wanted to be blessed by Lord Rama, but it felt like I don't deserve it. I don't deserve this at all. Why? Because I haven't done anything. My contribution here is so minuscule. Look at all the other people who are doing important things, like carrying boulders, and I have just been able to carry a few pebbles in my mouth. So saying, it stood in the back, hiding behind the tree, peeping occasionally to have a darshan of the Lord. Then what did Lord Rama do? Lord Rama went and petted the chipmunk and told the chipmunk, yours has been the greatest contribution. Why? Because of those small little pebbles which have filled in the blanks between the big boulders, the bridge is now stable. The bridge is stable because of these small pebbles which have acted as cement. They have wedged themselves in between the big boulders so that we can easily cross across this ocean. And then so saying, he petted the chipmunk. That's why the chipmunk has 3 lines on its back. They are the fingerprints of Lord Rama, it is said. And so this way, even the most humble of tasks can and often do can and often contribute. Contribute to what? Contribute to Loka Sangraha, to helping people at large. And so this is Loka Sangraham eva api, keeping in view the welfare of the people, welfare of the world, sampashyan, keeping this in view objectively, that I can be of some help. I have hands, I have legs, I have a brain, I can be of some help. This, saying this, you can arhasi, you are, you deserve to be doing this. You should perform the action doing this alone. Doing, from this standpoint. Bhashya, let us see. Karmana eva hi yasmat purve kshatriyaha vidvamsah samsiddhim moksham gantum आस्थिताः प्रवृत्ताः जनकादयः जनका अश्वपति प्रभृतयः. So, karmana eva, yasmat means because. Karmana eva hi, because of action alone, purve, in the remote past. Kshatriyaha means kings. Kings who are also vidvamsaha. Vidvamsaha means knowers of the self. Kings who were vidvans, knowers of the self. What did they do? Samsiddhim, they gained moksha. Gantum asthitaha, they strived for moksha. They strived for moksha. How? Janakadayaha, Janaka, Ashwapati, etc. By keeping action in view. By performing action alone, they gained moksha. Not performing action alone. Performing action alone, they got antakarana shuddhi. And by antakarana shuddhi alone, they gained moksha. This is the teaching here. Very beautiful. So, who is this Janaka we saw? We have seen earlier also. Janaka is a king who was lauded by Yagyavalkya as well, and other such sages. And what did this Janaka do? This Janaka was a king and also a Vidwan, and ruled his kingdom without passion, with total vairagya, dispassion, and helped a lot of people. Was supposed to be a golden age in the Vedas. Then what do we have? Then Janakadayaha, Adi, since Adayaha is there, Adi Shankara, Adayaha means etc. So a list that begins with Janaka means there were many such people. Even Adi Shankara is loath to find another example. Very difficult to find another, struggles to find another example, because people who were kings and then who had moksha are very difficult to count. You can count with what 2 fingers of one hand, not even with all the fingers of one hand. So rare is this phenomenon. Why? Because think about it, the life of a king, it's full of what? It's full of the indulgence. In the olden days, all over the world, they could marry as many times as they wanted. They had harems, and meaning ladies, hosts of ladies willing to serve them, entertain them, keep them amused. And then they had they could just, with a snap of a finger, they could get whatever they wanted. Money of the treasury was at their disposal, and they did not need to account it to the accountant. In fact, the accountant would come and would have to account for all the other expenses. The king's expense was not questioned. The king, queen's expense was not questioned at all. Not like the modern day kings. You have to go, even in England, you have to go and submit your request to the British Parliament. I have to repair a leak in the palace. Please, give this money. Not in the olden days. Monarchy means it was total power. And so they could go wherever they wanted. They could attack whimsically whatever kingdom they wanted. They could go, they could eat whatever they wanted. They could buy whatever they wanted. They could amass wealth and gold. So, such being their circumstances, tell me, where is the inclination to look for moksha, to strive for moksha? There is no inclination, because it's a world of indulgence. Kingdom means world of indulgence. King means that the pravritti is it's a pravritti life. There is only going towards all kinds of sports and indulgences. You could go hunting, you could go build another palace on a lake, another small palace by the riverside. If you got tired of the lake, you could go to the river. If you got tired of the river, you could go to the ocean. If you got tired of the ocean, you could go somewhere in the hills. So, like this, summer palace, winter palace, all these things were there. And if it got too hot, you went somewhere else in the hills. All this indulgences being there, there is not any motivation for moksha. Motivation for moksha many times comes because one is out of, one finds that one is not able to control anything in one's life, including the hardships that come. That becomes the, what is its name? That becomes the impetus for surrender. The impetus for surrender comes from having to encounter out of control situations. I thought I was in control. I thought I was in charge. But look, I cannot control this. Some loss, some fear, something that is completely out of my hand, repeated disappointments. This becomes the bread and butter that leads one to Vedanta. This becomes the bread and butter of Vedanta entry. Think about your own entry into Vedanta. What made you come to Vedanta? What made moksha come in the way, come in the screen of your life? What made moksha appear as a possibility? What made moksha appear was the circumstances in your life that made you disgusted towards this whole action, reaction, action, result of action, result of action, disappointment, action, result of action, out of control, action, result of action, loss, action, result of action, despair. That is the cycle you wish to come out of. That is what is called samsara. That is what has led you to moksha. But in the lifestyles of the rich and the famous, in the lifestyle of people who have lot of money, in the lifestyle of people who have lot of, the lot of ability to control what they want, very little impetus for moksha. That's why Adi Shankara is not able to give more examples. One is Janaka, we have talked about. The other one is Ashwapati. So, when we research into this Ashwapati, very interesting. Two Ashwapatis come into being. One is in the Veda and the other one somewhere in the Puranas. So one in the Puranic Ashwapati is the father of Savitri. Savitri, the one who the one who defeated Lord Yama, the god of the minion of death, the one who defeated him and gained back her husband who had been taken by Lord Yama. And then he was childless, this Ashwapati, and then he did a big yajna. For 18 years, he did tapas to gain children. I don't think it is this Ashwapati that is being talked about. The other Ashwapati from the Veda, very interesting character, no, not from the Veda, from the Ramayana, sorry. And this Ashwapati is the father of Kaikeyi, the youngest wife of King Dasharatha, Rama's stepmother, who is the cause of the whole Ramayana because she banished him and she divested him of being the heir apparent, the status of being heir apparent, and then sent him off to the forest so that her son could be crowned the king. So this Kaikeyi, the word Kaikeyi means for the princess of Kekaya. Kekeya, yeah, Kekeya. Kekeya's, Kekeya is the kingdom. So the Ashwapati was the king of Kekeya. In other words, Kaikeyi's father. Kekeya Pradesha. Kekeyasya apatya strihi. So that Kaikeyi. So then, this Kekeya kingdom was apparently apparently without thugs, murderers, and robbers. Nobody would steal anything, and not because they had corporeal punishment, their hands would be cut off. No, it was all like this because they willingly submitted to the will or to the king, to the edicts and the orders of the king, because they respected the king tremendously. They respected the king tremendously because the king was a jnani, it is said. And then, so there was no crime. And then everybody helped everybody else. Everybody was very happy because this is what happens when the kingdom is ruled over by a person of self-knowledge. And then it is also said that this Ashwapati could understand the language of all animals, birds, and dogs, and leopards, everything. So he would love to go off into the forest by himself and just commune with everything because he understood them. And then one time he was walking with the mother of Kaikeyi in the forest. They were taking a walk. They went for a hike, and then he saw they passed by a river where there were some swans and making some noises. And then Ashwapati chuckled to himself, and then Kaikeyi's mother said, "What are you saying? Tell me, tell me." Then Ashwapati had a curse. Ashwapati's gift of talking to animals came with the blessing came with a curse. That if he revealed to any other being, whoever it may be, whether it was his wife or his own mother or anybody, if he revealed this gift and whatever the animals were saying, then he would lose his life. So he had told everybody not to ask him that. And yet the queen consort of Ashwapati said, "Tell me, what are the swans saying? Tell me." And he said, "You know very well, if I say this, then I will have to lose my life, and my prarabdha is still there. I'm not yet ready to go." She still said, "Doesn't matter if you lose your life, tell me." And he said, "No, no, better you go back to your parents' house for a extended holiday because you are trying to basically kill me by telling me, by asking me to reveal this that would be inimical to my living." So these kinds of kings who ruled dispassionately and who had self-knowledge is being talked about here. So they all did their they strive to attain liberation while studying through the action of helping people. And then, so two possibilities are there because they are kings in the Puranas, Vedas, and Ramayana, etc. There is no proof. There is no proof whether they were enlightened And there is no proof that they were not enlightened either. So Adi Shankara posits two kinds of two possibilities. Possibility number one, then they were enlightened kings. So if they were enlightened kings, what did they do? Yadi te prapta samyak darshanaha tatah loka sangrahartham prarabdha कर्मत्वात् कर्मणा सह एव असन्यस्य एवं एव कर्म संसिद्धिम् आस्थिताः इत्यर्थः. So, yadi means if they had the right perception, samyak darshanaha, prapta samyak darshanaha, if they had the correct perception, meaning if they had the gained the knowledge of the Atma, then it should be, then we should read this verse like this. Then, for the sake of the welfare of the world, they did not become sannyasis. They asanyasya means not having renounced, even though they knew that they are free of karma. They did not formally take sannyasa, they did not renounce karma, they instead continued as kings, as grahasthas, and then they remained in the realm of action. And then, of course, they had moksha. And then, or the other possibility is what? Then, um, yeah. Atha, now, aprapta samyak darshanaha janakadayah. If supposing, on the contrary, they were what? Aprapta samyak darshanaha. Aprapta samyak darshanaha means they did not yet have the right perception, right knowledge. They were not jnanis. Then ajnaninaha ityarthaha. Or they were jnanis in the making. Then janakadayah, so the janaka etc. Then tada, we have to look at it like this: karmana sattva shuddhi sadhana bhutena kramena samsiddhim asthitaha iti vyakheyah shlokah. Very brilliant. So he says, if they did not have samyak darshanam, if they were not jnanis, then how should we read this shloka? Vyakheyah shlokah means this shloka should be unfolded in this manner. How? Then tada karmana sattva shuddhi sadhana bhutena. Then they remained in the realm of action, using the action for gaining sattva shuddhi, gaining antakarana shuddhi. So, if they did not have the right perception already, then through action as a means to attain inner purity, they gradually attained moksha through study. This is how this shloka has to be interpreted. Okay. So now, now supposing you don't think that they had moksha. So this is all for Arjuna's sake, this teaching is, okay. So then further he says, atha manyase purvaihi api janakadibhihi api ajanadbhihi eva kartavyam karma kritam tavata na avashyam anyena kartavyam samyak darshanavata kritarthena iti. Or atha yadi manyase, if you think what? Purvaihi api janakadibhihi, by Janaka and others in the past, or Janaka of yore, then ajanadbhihi, being ignorant of their self, eva kartavyam karma kritam tavata, means obligatory action was performed because they did not know the Atma. Tavata na avashyam, that does not mean that it should be done by others. That does not mean it should be done by people who have Atmajnanam. So what is the argument here? The argument here is, if you think that Janaka and others, Janaka etc., performed action for what? Performed action because they couldn't do otherwise. They were not jnanis. And if in your mind, jnani must never perform action, if that is your view, then we have to, then what? Then we have to say one more thing. We have to bring in another factor why Gyanis also may perform action. Gyanis perform action for whose sake? For the sake of the world. Why? Because they don't need anything to accomplish. They don't need to accomplish anything. There is nothing that is not gained that is to be gained by them because they are free of desires. We have seen this. They are free of attachment. They are free of aversion to situations in the world. And then, since they are free of raga dvesha, they have no desires that pressure them to do something. Because of that, they are free to perform action. Then why will they perform action? Due to prarabdha, due to their past karma. The past karma continues even after the gain of the knowledge. So some jnanis just sit in one place. Ajagara vrittayah, they are called. So they are like pythons, just sit in one place. Bhiksha comes to them, they just eat, and they don't feel the need to leave the village, to leave the town, to leave the apartment or wherever they are situated. Because there is no need, and the prarabdha cooperates. They know their prarabdha, they are not supposed to be moving around. Whereas some people, even though they are jnanis, they keep traveling, they keep teaching, they keep going and helping this one, that one, everyone. They keep doing things for the sake of helping people. They don't seem to have that predilection, which is again the prasada of prarabdha. Like the predilection to just sit in one place. Like our own Pujya Swamiji, he traveled till the last minute and kept on doing works for helping people. And so this way, the prarabdha becomes a factor for continuing to be engaged in action, even if somebody is, quote unquote, enlightened, has self-knowledge. So therefore he continues, tathapi prarabdha karma yataha, prarabdha karma yattaha, tvam lokasangraham eva api lokasya unmarga pravritti nivaranam lokasangraham tam eva api prayojanam sampashyan kartum arhasi. So even if you think that if the person who is enlightened should not do karma, meaning very carefully, Lord, Krishna is saying, if you consider yourself to be enlightened, even if you think you are enlightened, you still have to do karma. Why? Because of prarabdha. Because of prarabdha, you have to perform karma. How do I know your prarabdha? That is going to be told in chapter 4. At the beginning of chapter 4, the Lord is going to declare, Bahuni me vyatithani janmani tavacharjuna tanyaham vetha sarvani natvam vetha parantapa. I know all your janmas. I know your prarabdha. You don't know your prarabdha. And what is your prarabdha? To be engaged in action. And then by converting that prarabdha to be engaged in action that helps people, then you can come out of this conundrum of whether or not to fight this war. Because you are subject to prarabdha, you have to perform action, convert this action not as a small little, petty fight between yourself and what? Petty fight between yourself and the people, not this petty fight between yourself and everybody else. Who are these people? Duryodhanadayah. So this Duryodhana, etc. It's not this petty fight. It's not, you're not fighting for a kingdom. You're fighting to release the people from the tyrannical hold of Duryodhana, etc. Those who are subject to Duryodhana, you are redeeming them. So convert it into an exalted purpose. Don't really get stuck in this level. This is what it is. This is Loka Sangraha. What is Loka Sangraha? Lokasya Unmarga Pravritti Nivaranam. Lokasya Unmarga Pravritti Nivaranam means the Unmarga Pravritti. Unmarga means bad action. Yeah. Unmarga means adharmic action. Pravritti means the tendency of the people to go into the wrong action. Nivaranam, the relieving of that. The relieving of the motivation of the people to go into adharmic action is called Lokasangraha. Very nice definition. So even if you take up a project to alleviate poverty, then here it says it becomes Loka Sangraha when you keep in mind that people in areas ridden with poverty or people who are riddled with poverty, what happens to them? They would be definitely tempted to steal. They would be definitely tempted to engage in adharmic actions. Why? Because the call of the stomach, the hunger is a very important motivator to do wrong actions. So you alleviate the hunger not just because they are hungry and they need it, but because if you don't do this or if somebody doesn't attend to this, then there will be a imbalance in the dharmic structure. The dharmic infrastructure will be impacted by more and more people who are in need, trying to get their just desserts by engaging in any kind of action because they are desperate, and desperate situations call for desperate measures. Very beautiful understanding of the expression Loka Sangraha. It's not social welfare, it is not just helping people, it is not just some kind of activism. It is all these things, but for the sake of keeping people on the path of Dharma, inspiring people to be on the path of Dharma, and for them to know that even if they are in difficult conditions, help is at hand. They don't have to. It is a choice not to go down the difficult roads of adharma and then gain wrong results, and then the loop of this wrong results, wrong actions to continue. So then you who are subject to this prarabdha karma should keep this in view, and then you prevent the people going in the wrong direction by alleviating their present circumstances. This is what you have to do. And then further, he asked the question, Loka Sangraha kaha kartum arhati? Who is, who should endeavor for Loka Sangraha? Katham cha, and how to do this? Iti uchyate. This is going to be told. When? Next week. Where? In the next verse. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you.